Here, birds are at rest. Wild animals make their home. The inquisitive eye gets its full share of rich colors, and at times, man and animal venture into a game of hide and seek.
A game reserve is a protected area of land where birds are with part of their habitat where they would nest and so on, and it's not legal to shoot in those areas.
A game reserve is an area that the birds do their nesting.
A game reserve is a place where the birds them live there.
It's where people hunt birds and things like that. I don't remember anymore.
A game reserve is a place that I can't go. You're not allowed to shoot there, you're not allowed to fish there, you're not allowed to do anything to destroy the environment there.
A game reserve is a parcel of land or body of water or an area comprising both land and water within which the hunting of birds or any other animals is strictly prohibited. It's also illegal to bring into these game reserves any weapons or dogs for hunting or even to take the nest of a bird.
In Jamaica, game reserves are monitored by the National Environment and Planning Agency.
Game reserves are like a refuge for game birds in particular, where they can escape all the hunting activities that are occurring on the island. There are also good roosting areas and breeding areas for these birds. In addition, some of these areas are also areas where a lot of endangered birds are, and we actually don't want any hunting activities in there in case there is accidental or illegal hunting of these birds. A lot of these game reserves do have many other species there. Another endangered species that's come to mind when we speak of wetlands, for example, is the endangered American crocodile. And we know a lot of people have some fear of the crocodile, and we just don't want that human-crocodile interactions because the crocodile always comes out on the losing end. So it's always good to ensure that these areas are no shooting areas, no hunting areas.
Forest reserves are also considered game reserves as well.
There are 19 game reserves across the island, and we are currently at the Amity Hall and Goat Island Game Reserves, and this one in particular is a little interesting in that it's the only game reserve that incorporates both land and a body of water. Over here is actually a part of the game reserve, and in the background there, that's the Great Goat Island, and so between the mainland here and the Great Goat Island, this body of water is also a no shooting area.
So other than this, where are the other game reserves located on the island? There is the Great Morass Game Reserve in Holland Bay, St. Thomas. In St. Catherine, the Portmore and Greater Portmore and Cabaretta Point Game Reserves. In Clarendon, the Long Island, West Harbour Peak Bay and Mason River Savannah Game Reserves. Bordering on Clarendon and Manchester is the Alligator Pond, Gut River and Canoe Valley Game Reserves. Also in Manchester is the Reigate Game Reserve. Over in St. Elizabeth, there is the Black River Upper and Lower Morass Game Reserves, as well as the Paratee, Great Morass and Stanmore Hill Game Reserves. Bordering on Westmoreland and Hanover in Negril, there is the Great Morass Game Reserve. In Montego Bay, St. James, there is the Bogue Lagoon Creek Game Reserve, while over in the west, in the parish of Trelawney, is the Glistening Waters Game Reserve. Portland is home to the Fairy Hill Port Antonio Game Reserve, while St. Anne, Jamaica's Garden Parish, has the Knapdale Game Reserves. There is also the Kingston and St. Andrew Game Reserves.
On our NEPA website, for example, you can actually find maps of all these game reserves, and it's important for persons to know exactly where they are, because sometimes people would create new tracks and there won't be a sign necessarily at that new track. So it's important to know exactly where you are.
You're not allowed to hunt there, and if I was to go in there with my weapon to hunt and you found me, I could go to jail, so I won't go in there.
No shooting zone, you can't shoot there. If NEPA catch you, you go to jail.
That's right. These hunters know the law well, which declares that any person found in a game reserve in possession of any animal, bird, bird's eggs, or nests will be presumed to be in violation of the Wildlife Protection Act. This can attract a maximum fine of $100,000, 12 months imprisonment, or both, if convicted by a resident magistrate.
So for each game reserve, there is actually a buffer around the game reserve of 50 meters. So persons are required to observe a 50-meter zone around each game reserve where no hunting is allowed or no trapping of birds or animals is allowed. We are along the edge of the Amity Hall and Goat Island Game Reserve, and this is actually the boundary, one of the boundary lines, this canal right here. And so no hunting is allowed within 50 meters of this canal, and everything over here is actually a part of the game reserve where no hunting is allowed.
There are signs at the entrance to game reserves. Identifying one is an easy feat. For more information on game reserves, contact the National Environment and Planning Agency at 754-7540 or visit their website at nepa.gov.jm.